Y'all should be able to see first slide.
Yeah, thank you, Perry, for doing all the technical logistics for us. We had a little bit of technical difficulty in the first webinar, which thankfully we're able to figure out all the kinks, and we'll be sharing, those of you that are joining, we'll be sharing the updated correct link of the webinar. So we will be able to get those visuals out correctly for those of you that have joined that had those webinar links will be corrected. There, yes, we can see Perry. We are all good. Fabulous, fabulous. All right, so we will go ahead and get started again. Welcome back if you're joining again for the second one. And welcome if this is your first one joining. We've got a good group of SLPs here today. Thanks so much for joining. If this is your first time with us, this is a part 2 of our 3-part series. And if you weren't able to join us last week, no problem at all, of course. Feel free to reach out. I'm happy to send over a quick clip or even the full recording of our last talk. And as I'm sending them out this week to the registrants who did attend, it was a great conversation, lots of insights, candid discussion about what these staffing shifts really look like in practice, kind of these new changes that we're seeing out there. Before we dive into today's talk, let's start with some short introductions. We actually have 3 people on here today. And I'll go ahead and introduce Becca first, since her picture's not on here. She's going to be helping us out with our chat. So our Q&A and our chat's open. So if any of you are not there, she's Becca Bishop. She's part of our SLP team here. So she'll be helping us out today. And I'm Steph. I work closely with districts across the country who are navigating this new reality of these layered speech language staffing models, right? There's more SLPAs, more clinical fellows, more new grads, more aides, all the good things, fewer veteran SLPs. That's definitely a reality out there. I have 18 years experience as an SLP myself. In more recent years as a lead SLP manager roles, I'm now in district partnerships here with the Amplio. And then Perry, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks. I'm Perry, and I too am a former school-based SLP myself. I also have served as a lead in managing SLPs as well. So, I have experienced firsthand how demanding it is in the schools these days and how the workload has grown and grown over the years. So I now use my experiences as an SLP to work with Amplio and work with our end users to support them when using our online digital tools.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Perry. So today's talk is about how we handle this feeling that we're really only one person. So the reality is that many of you are already feeling this impact of just years of over referrals. You're facing bloated caseloads, not enough staff, growing number of students who need support right now. I was having a talk with an SLP a couple weeks ago, and she's like, I feel this jealousy of this reality of, like, you've got PT, OT, and speech, and you're sitting in an IEP, and everyone gets speech. It feels like everyone gets speech. Some kids get PT, some get OT, everyone gets speech. This session is all about giving your team practical tools to manage the caseload you have. More importantly, actually helping students make progress, move towards dismissal. We believe that Amplio's digital tools really allow you to cut the clutter, and today we're going to show you how. So moving on to our next slide. Why caseloads feel unmanageable. There's lots of reasons, right? Reality is, let's talk about something I hear in almost every district conversation I have, and I have district conversations across the country. This feeling that caseloads are just unmanageable, and for good reason. Number one, we have huge numbers of students with speech IEPs, many of whom have been there for years. Because speech language, it's embedded in academics, is it not? I mean, it really is. So we're seeing record numbers of students with speech language IEPs. What's especially challenging is that they've been on there for years, like I said, with no real plan, no real pathway for dismissal. They're just there. And this isn't because teams aren't trying, it's because they're stretched so thin. There just hasn't been the time or the tools to focus on outcomes. Number two, it's that mix of like complex and mild cases. And this one I think is really important. They're all competing for limited time. And they're all, a lot of times I feel like, at least in my experience, there's no real, they all get the same time. There's not really any delegation of those kids with complex cases really getting more of our time, more of our specialized time as SLPs. It's like, I always felt like my kids with R, or my kids with just TH are delegated the same as my really complex cases that really need me, because I just don't even have the time to organize and delegate that. The caseload's so big and so bloated, I don't have the time to organize that and really delegate where it needs. Everyone's scheduled the same way. They're lumped into large groups. It becomes nearly impossible to give the students the level of support that they need based on what specialty. Yeah, so it's really struggle with that. Number three, too few SLPs to deliver that meaningful, individualized support. And that kind of, that's kind of number two, bleeding into number three, right? The staffing challenge is real. So many districts are working with fewer seasoned SLPs than ever before. We have more clinical fellows, as we talked about that a lot in webinar number one. We're fewer seasoned SLPs than ever before. A lot of people retiring. We have more clinical fellows, more SLPAs, more turnover, fewer SLPs who can take on those really complex cases without a lot of support. So even when you do have these amazing providers, the numbers just don't add up. There's just simply not enough of them to go around. And I really feel for these SLPAs, these early CFs coming out, they've got large mixed groups, so they're really challenged in what they've got to handle, So number four, that prep, paperwork, compliance, stealing time from actual therapy. We all know this. This is really tough, so there's everything else, the documentation, the Medicaid billing, the progress monitoring, the scheduling, the red tape, parent communication, compliance checks, all necessary, but incredibly time consuming. And it all pulls providers away from doing the actual work that they want to do, helping the students make the progress, right? So when we talk about caseloads that feel really unmanageable, it's not just a feeling, it's the reality. It's the reality. So the system isn't set up to scale the way that the teams are being asked to deliver services. And that's exactly why we're here today. We're here to talk about tools, workflows, and what can help teams work smarter, not just harder. And I know for me, when I was working intensely full-time in the schools, what I always wished that I had was things that could allow me to really focus on those complex cases. What could help me really focus on those students that needed my individualized attention, that really needed my specialized support? And we all know who those students were. If you think about your caseload, whether your caseload is 45, 65, 85, whatever your number is, those students who really need you, right? And those students who need you maybe to a lesser degree, or need you, but that could get away with you less, and then maybe some tools and some strategies and supports in place, maybe some independent practice or some scaffolding, some things on the side, some supports or some help, but maybe a little bit less of your direct time, right? You know who those students are who could use with some supports from you, but maybe not you all the time. And that's what we're going to talk about today, what those tools and what those supports could be that could allow you to then take that time to focus on the students that really need you. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. All right, so now time for this poll, a little bit of this poll. Moving on here, what is your SLP team's biggest caseload related challenge? What do you think it is? And you can answer in the chat or just think about, what do we have here? What is your SLP team? Thinking as an SLP here, what is the team's biggest caseload related challenge? And this is a question, like when I think about this, like there's a ton of things that come to mind here. I think of not enough time for meaningful therapy. I think on the last slide, what I talked about was the biggest thing for me. Looking back, it's like if I had, say 65 kids on my caseload, the biggest challenge that I always had looking back over the years was that this concept of over referral, this concept of over referral. I would get referred anything and everything. If the kid was, one speech sound that this kid needed help with, that kid, came across my desk, one speech sound. And it's like, well, great. I understand, you have a speech sound that you're working on, but I don't have the capacity to have that child on my caseload. There's just not enough time in the day for me to have an IEP for a student working on a TH. When this student has, you know, pretty complex case of autism and social pragmatic skills, or, with other things layered on top of it. And this student really needs my intervention and my help. There's multifaceted issues going on here that affect his academics, his social skills, all these layers, right? You look at these two kids, and this student needs a lot more intervention and a lot more help than this TH kid. That's where, when I look back at my caseload, I wish I could support this student kind of more indirectly, or maybe provide this student with some support on the side. And this student needs a lot more of my specialty, a lot more of my degree needs to go towards this student than this student. For me, that meaningful therapy needs to go towards this student. Documentation overload, that is another huge, huge thing. Yeah, documentation overload, that was another big one for me. Yeah. So another thing that, when we put this poll out a few weeks back with one of our other responses we put out for an email, we got back, students staying in therapy too long. That's another one that we've heard back with some of our outreaches we've done. This idea that because speech and language is just so embedded in everything we do, right? In reading, in writing, in school, in academics, it's so embedded in everything that we do in academics. A student comes in kindergarten, pre-K, first grade, they come in, and as soon as pre-literacy comes into play, that student might enter into speech, and then they're in speech. They don't tend to get, dismissed until maybe middle school, sometimes even high school, if they're in it for a long, long time. And so by the time, an SLP, gets to, I mean, that's a bloated caseload, right? They tend to stay in therapy for a really, really, really long time. Yeah. So any other answers that you might have, throw it in the chat, but tends to be a lot. All right. So what helps? What helps? We talked a lot about what the problems are, these over referrals to SPED and these over referrals specifically to speech. What helps and what doesn't? Well, we know what doesn't help, right? This concept of what doesn't help. Just hiring more people. This is what we've done historically. What we've done historically in the speech, in the SPED world, in particular in the speech help, we just hire more people. It sounds like the simplest fix, right? Just hire more people. Let's go out and grab some more SLPs. Well, once upon a time, maybe that was the right thing. Maybe it was. But what happened, unfortunately for us, is that there became a national shortage of SLPs. That's what happened, right? The reality was that there just wasn't enough certified SLPs out there. And even when you find someone great, the budget might not allow for it. So there became this real shortage, this real shift, this real problem. Amplio was built with this challenge in mind to help the team that you do have work more efficiently and support more students without sacrificing quality. It was built in mind with supporting SLPs. Specifically, think of those kids that might not need as much of that, of your expertise, to support your caseload, okay? Because there just aren't enough SLPs out there. It was built also to support SLPAs. If you have a ton of SLPAs under you, or CFYs, it was built with that in mind. Number two, asking SLPs to just, find a way to make it work. Oh, this is all too common. Providers are always just doing their best, stretching their time, energy across growing caseloads. We're expected to just kind of cobble together solutions on their own. Oh my gosh, I'm so familiar with this. Like, I'm going to pull this from here, takes the pressure off. Yeah, Amplio will take the pressure off, because I remember what I was doing. Google was my best friend, and I'm like, I would just Google and I'd pull up this website, this website, this website, this website. I just cobbled things together And what I liked about the past 4 or 5 years that I have used Amplio is it takes pressure off. It's a structure. It's all in one place, in one hub. And it takes the pressure off teams by giving structure, consistency, ready-made resources. It's all in one place. I don't have to build it from scratch. So the other thing, number 3, pulling materials off GPT, hoping for the best. I did that. Yeah, I mean, there's great materials out there, but I have to sift through hundreds of options. I'm trying to align them to student goals, session minutes. It's not realistic when you're saving dozens of students, you have serving dozens of students. Um, I mean, the differences between that and Amplio, I mean, there's curated research-based content, in both, but I think with Amplio, it's more curated, goal aligned, so, and there's not scrolling, printing, downloading, required. It's all kind of in one place. And specifically, we'll talk a little bit more on this next one. It's the data entry that's really specifically different. Is this number 4, using digital tools that still rely heavily on manual data entry. So this is where a lot of tech solutions fall short. If it's a tool that still requires you to manually track or tally your score while also managing, behavior delivering instruction. And here's where I saw this into play. So I was in a classroom just 2 weeks ago and I watched as the SLP, she's using a digital tool, but what she has to do is go student by student in a group. Stand here, tracking manual data attack, the data tracker, plus or minus, plus or minus. These kids are coloring, plus or minus, plus or minus. Now go to this one, plus or minus, plus or minus. These kids are coloring now, plus or minus, plus or minus. Go to this one, plus or minus, plus or minus. There's still a lot of coloring going on over here and over here. So you're still managing, behavior. There's still a lot of downtime. So where Amplio is different, it integrates the data collection into the lesson itself. It's doing it for you. So SLPs can stay focused on the student because the data entry does it for you, right? So you can still get the data needed to drive the decisions and then document the progress. So, what actually helps? You've got the curated, vetted materials, and that's where we really shine here. I mean, these were created by SLPs for SLPs. There are, pre-built evidence-based lessons that are tied to specific skills. So providers can jump in, start delivering therapy sessions without hours of prep. And we'll talk about this a little bit later, but what I absolutely loved about it too is that those independent practice things, those abilities for students to get in and do it even without you there. They can do it for that extra practice. Parents can even get their students in and they can do that extra without you, and you can see that data you can see how much extra they practiced. Number 2, the built-in progress monitoring. Data collection in Amplio happens in the moment while the student is working, no extra steps, no separate tracking sheet. Makes it easy to see if a student is progressing and when it might be time to consider dismissal. Those expressive tasks are recorded, so no data is lost. You can even play it back for the student, like, are you sure you got that right? Let's listen to yourself. Let's see if you got it right. Parents can hear their students' expressive language or their expressive speech, recordings in IEP meetings. Tools that maximize therapy time. So not just to manage compliance, but Amplio doesn't just help with documentation, Medicaid billing. It does that, of course, but it's built around, delivering the effective therapy, helping students make progress. We want providers to spend less time clicking and more time connecting. The opposite of what a lot of people think about digital tools. You think like, oh, we're just putting them in front of computers, but no, digital tools, even in general education, they're meant to make you a more effective teacher. They're meant to take all of that, paperwork away for you so that you can actually spend more time connecting with your students. So we do these things with intent and intention. So as I said before, students can even complete tasks and do extra therapy tasks independently, additionally without the therapist present, especially those pesky TH, like they can work on that. They can do extra, activities without you present, either from home or additional targeted practice from their ClassLink accounts when you're not there, so they can get that extra targeted intervention that could lead to earlier dismissal, right? All of those things. That's what educational technology advancements are for. Give us that extra practice when we're not even around, right? So that they can have early dismissal, all these things that makes educational technology so wonderful. And that actually lightens the load for us as therapists. Yeah? All right. So let's see what Amplio is built to do. Moving on to Perry.
Yes, so let's talk about how Amplio actually does help the overwhelmed SLPs manage their enormous caseloads that exist today. So Amplio, I know Stephanie has kind of alluded to a lot of this already, but Amplio does provide SLPs with goal-aligned structured content that can save hours of prep time, and also, of course, expedite the actual direct therapy sessions together with the students. There are over 10,000 therapy activities in Amplio's library that target all of the most common goals that we see on our school-based caseloads. The therapy activities are ready to use at a moment's notice. They don't require setup and they don't make a mess requiring you to clean up multiple times throughout the busy day. An SLP can easily prep for dozens of sessions at a time by assigning the digital activities to their students or groups of students. And truly, it just simplifies and makes it much easier to differentiate the activities you present within each of your small groups you work with, so that each student is actually truly working on the tasks specified for their individualized needs. I know it is harder, when you just have to pull based on schedule and you have to get your third graders together or your fifth graders together. And that means all of the kids have different goals. So it does make the differentiating within the small group a lot easier and manageable. As an added bonus, Amplio also includes instructional guidance with each activity, like prompts and cues and modeling tips, which just further supports the provider when they're introducing new skills or reviewing the skills with the students. So not only does the content save you time while prepping for sessions, but the content on Amplio also helps your group session run more smoothly and efficiently in the moment. Additionally, as we know, as we all very much know, that data collection and progress reporting and documentation are all additional responsibilities on a school-based SLP. But sometimes it's a long road of trial and error when figuring out what the most efficient methods and organizational tools are for oneself. I know when I was working directly in the schools, especially like early on, right after grad school, I was always thinking about how I could streamline the necessary tasks as much as possible so that I could always work smarter and not harder and stay at school until, late hours. So with Amplio, we are cutting out that time and effort it takes for you to figure it out for yourself and create an effective system. And that is because Amplio is equipped with the built-in data collection tools as well, with progress monitoring, progress tracking features, and automated session notes too. So everything is organized for you and readily available anytime, anywhere. Hopefully not from home because we don't want to be working from home anymore. Just at school. But all of this is because each and every time an exercise is completed by a student, Amplio system records that response for you as correct or incorrect, which means much less time in the moment multitasking as the SLP when you're with the students. So you can ditch your hundreds of pages filled with tally marks and actually maintain your focus on the students that are directly in front of you. Now, if you find yourself thinking there's just no way, this is all too good to be true, I totally hear you, and I can show you firsthand the live platform in just a moment so you can see the content and the features that I just described. But first, I just want to offer a little clarity to a common question that comes up. With Amplio, the educator or the SLP has their account, of course, which is what we'll look at in just a moment, but the students also have their own accounts as well. So I just wanted to take a second to explain that difference. So the SLP's account allows them to do the managerial tasks like the therapy planning, reviewing progress, and documentation that I just reviewed. The SLP can also create and run a live session with students present right in front of you from your own device, meaning you can display the digital therapy materials for the student or a small group of students on your own laptop or desktop, or use a projector on the wall if you have that available, or like an interactive whiteboard that you can plug into. So all in all, the SLP's Amplio account can run the live session, collect the data, in addition to the tasks that are non-student facing. Then separately, the students also have their own accounts too. So you could elect to have your small group in the same classroom as you, all enter their own Amplio student account on their own individual student devices, if those are available, like Chromebooks or tablets. And so the students from their own Chromebook, let's say, they can go into their own Amplio account and they will only be able to access the activities that have been assigned to them, and that's it. They do not have visibility into like the session notes and their progress data, and they definitely don't have access to other students' assignments or goals, just what's been assigned to them. So they can complete those activities with you from their own Chromebook while they're in the therapy setting with you. And then alternatively, you can ask the students to use their student accounts if or when you want to assign homework or independent practice, like Stephanie mentioned earlier. I have found that that's a great tool for increasing the overall rate of progress for a student. And then also in instances when you are hoping to reduce or prevent regression over a long break. It helps promote carryover. And then it can also be a powerful tool with parents if they're using the therapy materials at home, and it gets the parents, involved and supported as well from home. So that's a great way to use it for that too. All right, now time for the good stuff. We can actually dive in and take a look into Amplio speech and language, and you can better understand all the things that I've mentioned so far. So let me switch over. I think y'all should be able to see the program library now. Okay, perfect. So first things first, here is the program library. These are the ready-to-use digital therapy materials that Amplio offers. The materials are organized into programs that you can see here, and we have 17 that are available right now, and 3 of which are in Spanish, which we excitedly released earlier this year. It's easy to browse and preview any of the contents within a program. If you're just starting out, you can just simply click into any of the programs. Like here, I have WOW, and you can just further click into the folders to find the phonemes you're looking for. Since this is articulation, so let's say I'm looking for initial S on the sentence level to use with the kid. I can preview the activities based on the list here on the left, and click into the exercises to take a sneak peek into the individual stimuli or exercises that the student would work on. So you can see the pictures and the sentences that the students would be practicing. From this page, you can also view the skill instruction, which are the instructional guidance materials that I mentioned earlier. So for the S phoneme, we have, since we're currently looking at that, we have the written strategies or tips and tricks right at our fingertips, as well as the placement cues and visuals and practice words as well. So this is a really great tool when kids are learning the new skill or if they need to review as they are practicing, and you can direct them to this anytime. Now, it's also from this page that you can quickly and easily assign students their individualized activities to target their specific goals and objectives. So you'll just use the assign button, and if you have your students organized into groups, you can easily assign to a whole group of students at once, or you can, choose to view all of your students in a list form and select from there, and then quickly assign to their own little assignment queue. Now, I'm going to also give you a little sneak peek into another one of our programs, just so you can see something other than articulation. So we can take a peek in Sparkle and look at phonological awareness, and we'll look at segmenting syllables. So again, it's all organized similarly, so you won't get confused, but the skill instruction materials are ready to preview, so we can take a look at what that looks like for this program. You can easily use the syllable segmentation, the visuals and cues, and prompts to lean on as your students are learning these new skills or improving their skills. So I'll just click through so y'all can have a little idea. Of course, if I did click on the little microphone or loudspeaker, it would read it aloud for us. All right, and then we can also take a look at some of the activities stimuli here as well. So for syllable segmentation, you will tap to listen.
Butterfly.
And then the student would be able to make their response by selecting how many syllables they hear in butterfly or how many they clap out. Now I don't want you to forget, I did mention that the system is designed to track the data for you. So if I were in a session with a student or small group, they'd be presented with the activities specifically assigned to them. So we'll pretend in this case it's syllable segmentation. During the session together, each time a student responds and selects their answer and presses submit, the system logs that response in the student's profile as correct or incorrect, and that's how it calculates the accuracy during that session with you. And so here's what it looks like with the correct response. And then
Spaghetti.
we can also see what it looks like with an incorrect response. So you will have feedback regardless, either way, that you can work through with the student, or if they are working independently, they would be able to have that response as well, or that feedback as well. So, so this is great. This is where you can really ditch the tally tracking sheets because you don't have to keep up with it yourself. You know, each time you're submitting the response that the system is saving it for you. So no chance of losing it either. Additionally, the session note will also be automatically generated for each session or for each student. So we will take a look at that next. And we'll go look at the caseload. And you can see all of your students here. And we're going to look at the student profile for Aiden Garcia. So this is where you can view the basic student demographics, what activities have been assigned to the student's progress within that activity, and any scores and session notes. So let's look at the scoring status for this articulation activity first. I have Aiden's overall accuracy beautifully tracked and displayed for me at the top. That was already tracked for me, which is very nice that I don't have to calculate it myself. Below is the itemized accuracy, so that it lists out the students' responses for each exercise that that Aiden in this case attempted or completed. So you can go through and see, you know, when it was done and their response. You can also hear their response on these expressive tasks like these articulation tasks. So that way you're able to listen to it when you are reviewing, or you can play it for an IEP team or even with the student if that would be appropriate for them as well. So that's great to have those recordings in a secure, safe location for each student. And then Amplio system uses this collected data to automatically generate the daily session note for each student you work with, which includes all the vital info you'd need for compliance and Medicaid billing. So we can take a look at Aiden's logged session notes here. And again, all of these are auto-generated every time a session is completed on Amplio. So the system logs the date and time and duration, as you can see, and then you can click into a particular date to view the actual session note that was generated. This is editable, so you're free to add to it as you please, but the system will populate all of this information and data for you. So you've got the student name, the educator name, when the session occurred, what therapeutic materials and skilled interventions were utilized, and the objective data, and you know how the student, what they achieved in their accuracy score. And all of these notes, again, like I said, are editable, so you'll be able to add to it if you need to, and then easily copy and paste it into your system of record, whatever is required by your school district. So on top of this, Amplio also provides you with real-time reports too. So we're going to take a look at the caseload reports dashboard. And the tools here can be used to adjust therapy approaches as needed, showcase student growth with clear, easy to read data. And that includes, we'll use Andrew today. That includes percentages that you don't have to calculate and graphs that you don't have to create on your own. You're able to easily share these insights with IEP teams, school support staff, parents, administrators, and even the students themselves, anyone and everyone involved. So when you click onto a student's name, as I just did, you'll open up their individualized report. So we're looking at Andrew Wilson's report right now. So this is a wonderful visual tool that you can use when you're reviewing progress on your own or with other team members, like I mentioned. You can easily filter for various time frames here, and view the student's usage of Amplio, their minutes, how the student is progressing based on a particular target skill. So you can see it looks like Andrew was working on initial S sound, and then he began working on S blends in late March. And you've got a view of the target skill summary at the bottom here. And this is saved for each student. Now going back to caseload overview, again, this is that bird's eye view of the whole caseload that you can scroll through and filter as needed. And then some additional management tools that are here and available are the session summaries. This is where you can quickly pull session notes in bulk for a specific student or a specific date or date range. So for example, today I will pull the session notes for the whole school year for Andrew, since we were just looking at him. I think he's in this group. Yep. And then I can click generate report and boom, all of Andrew's session notes are instantly pulled together chronologically for the whole school year for me. Or if I specified different dates, it would, adjust accordingly. But this is super useful also in a different way, like when you need to transfer notes to your Medicaid billing system, for example. Let's say you're really on top of things and very organized, and you prefer to complete your documentation after dismissal every day. Then you can easily sit down at your desk after the kids go home, select the specific date on the calendar that you want to pull together, and then generate the list of notes from that. You can click all students and then generate for that whole day, and that will pull the notes into one spot so you can very swiftly copy and paste into whatever your billing system may be. So this right here is a major time saver and actually makes it possible for you to stay on top of billing as frequently as daily. I know sometimes it's very easy to get behind on things like that, but this makes it so simple and efficient that you can stay on top of it every day after school if you wanted. And then finally, we've got the progress data feature here. This works very similarly to what we just looked at, but it pulls together the progress data that you'll most often need for progress reports at the end of each grading period, or the progress data needed for like present levels for an annual IEP review. So we can pull together, we'll do the school year's progress data for we'll do the whole group of third graders right here. And then I click generate again, just like the last page. And if my Wi-Fi will cooperate, you'll be able to see all of the progress data, yay, for each student that was selected. So Abigail, Andrew, and Daniel. And you can easily see the number of sessions completed within the specified time frame, their overall accuracy for the target skills that they've individually been working on. And then also you'll see the accuracy percentage based on the last 3 sessions with a little mastery classification note as well. So this is major time saver again for you as the SLP when planning for IEPs and when you're doing the progress reports for an entire caseload throughout the school year. So makes it much more manageable across the board. And that is pretty much it for the platform today. But all in all, it is very clear and simple. I truly, truly do believe that Amplio's digital tools are here to support all of our crazy busy work days, and overall Amplio does save you time. It ensures compliance, helps you in meeting every deadline that you have on your calendar, and overall eases the workload of you as the SLP so that hopefully some healthy work-life balance can be restored in your life. All right, I know I'm looking at the time. I'll go back to our slides and we can wrap it up. I did want to take a second and give you a chance to hear from a fellow SLP and an Amplio user. Lisa Mitchell, that this slide kind of summarizes, is an SLP in Union County Public Schools, which is in North Carolina. And she was admittedly a little hesitant about using technology and digital tools in her workflow. However, she was won over because with her use of Amplio, Lisa was able to achieve success for herself and for her students. With our ready-to-use and interactive materials, she improved her ability to collaborate with other educators on her school campus. She gained that real-time progress monitoring ability that we just looked at, and she was able to engage the students with therapeutic materials both in the school setting and from home. And ultimately, she witnessed breakthroughs with her students' confidence, language, and communication skills. And we do have an entire blog post actually about her experience on our website that I do invite all of you and encourage you all to go check out after this, if you have time.
Very wonderful.
Great.
Thank you, Perry. Yeah, change can sometimes be hard, right? But we all did it, right? No longer do we have our VHS tapes in our homes, right? We all eventually switched to binge watching TV on our streaming devices. So let's take a look at what makes this possible. If we zoom out for a moment and talk about what actually makes this possible, when our teams have the right tools, when we use technology, the right content, systems that truly focus and support them, we have therapy sessions that are focused and not chaotic, right? Sessions feel different. When SLPs don't have to scramble for materials, juggle separate different data trackers, and manually differentiate on the fly, we can focus. Our students are engaged, instruction is intentional. And what I really like about Amplio, like I said before, is everything is in one place. And so we have goal-aligned content, we have built-in data tracking, even behavioral tools. So sessions run smoothly and purposefully. There were things I will say, having used this myself for 4 or 5 years, there were things that I did off platform, that I engaged with my students off platform. However, my data collection was on platform, So it's not that I never had functional conversations with my students off platform. Of course I did. Of course I engaged with my students off platform, but my data tracking, that was used with this platform. So I want to make sure I say that caveat. Functional communication always took place, right? It was just my goal aligned content and my data tracking and my administrative tools were utilized with this hub, with this tool. Number two, real movement towards dismissal, not just service maintenance. So instead of students saying caseloads year after year, just in case, we use this. Teams actually track progress, make informed decisions using this tool. Amplio makes the data visible, actionable, so you know when a student is ready to reduce minutes, shift to consult, or exit entirely. One thing that's very unique about this tool is you can have as many educators assigned to a student profile as you need. You can have different educators assigned to a student profile, so different educators can see and visualize. Happier, more supported SLPs. And so providers, when they feel like they're drowning, burnout follows fast. But when they're given the tools to reduce the busy work, it helps them focus and remember why they got into the field in the first place. So I've heard SLPs say things like, this is the first time I felt like I'm on top of my caseload. That's important, right? And students progressing faster, exiting services when ready and faster because they can access this from their Clever and ClassLink profiles as much as they want. Just like those other apps that you see on Clever and ClassLink, like Alexia and IXL and all those other apps that are on their Clever ClassLink. Amplio is on there too. So they can actually access, their activities that you choose for them. You curate and choose for them. They can access those programs as well for independent practice from their devices. And so they can actually do those things on the side as well that you've chosen for them to do and complete. So that's how I use these digital tools. Students have, they needed those bit of focused work on specific speech sounds, those extra speech sounds, the bit of extra targeted practice, they can do that. So these are the extra things that make all the difference in the world. So yeah, caseloads are big and over referrals are real. And these challenges are real, but with the right support, the outcomes can look different, more focused, more dismissals, more energized staff. Most importantly, students can make meaningful progress. So we are about at time. So if you have any specific questions for us, you can go ahead and hop them in the chat. I know that we're at time, so you can always reach out to us individually after time as well. We want to value your time, so we know that there's a good chance you've got to jump, but know that we will be reaching out to you. You can always reach out to us, and we really encourage you to reach out to us. I know we've covered a lot today. So hopefully we sparked some ideas about what's possible when teams are truly supported, especially when general education is big on using these digital tools. Special education is starting to come to speed and get with the times, and we're really excited about that. So if you're thinking this sounds great, but how would it actually work for my team? Let's talk. We would love to show you a more personalized walkthrough of the Amplio platform tailored to your district specific needs and staffing setup. I would be thrilled to learn about you, your staff, your district. Talking with SLPs is mine and Perry's favorite thing, and Becca, since she's on the call too. If you're managing a team of growing SLPs, SLPAs, just learning about what your school and your staff looks like, we'd really love to talk with you and learn about you. So reach out to us. Feel free to put your information in the chat, or chances are I've already got your information. I'd love to chat with you more and see what that would look like. Yeah, so no, it's really quick, just scheduling a chat with us that we can talk more and learn about how this might look in your world, in your school, in your district. So thank you for joining us today, and reach out. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.